Undoubtedly for many, the Ezio Trilogy of Assassin's Creed games starting in 2009 and ending off in 2011 was the prime of the entire franchise, and I definitely share this sentiment. The games were incredible in making an incredible story, innovative gameplay, and a beautiful rendition of Italy, and later on even of Constantinople, with easily the franchise's best protagonists even today. With each installment it improved gargantuanly as the popularity of the games increased, so did the quality of the product that Ubisoft was delivering. However, is the Ezio Trilogy worth playing in 2021, especially for people who haven't played them at all, or even for people who want to return to these games? Today we'll be talking about each of the 3 Assassin's Creed Ezio Trilogy games, all spoiler free. Assassin's Creed 2 is commonly referred to as the greatest game of the franchise for its incredibly well-written story, its innovation to open-world mechanics, and its stellar gameplay. First, we'll discuss the story. The game's story is so incredible because of the way it connects you to the beautiful tale of Ezio. We see him birthed into the world and we follow him as he is a rash teenager to a member of the Assassin Brotherhood to eventually a still charismatic yet mature man by the end of the game. Bringing the player along with all the key moments in Ezio's life ultimately creates a bond between the player and the fantastically well-written Ezio. The game's story builds off the story of the first, but isn't a direct sequel in its main overarching plot, but was able to improve on the story presented in the original and brings it to new heights. Assassin's Creed 2 is synonymous with having an incredible video game story, and even to this day the characters, the story, and the plot points that blend them all together shows the underlying greatness of Ezio's tale and how incredibly well written all of it is. Desmond Miles from the first games, who is the game's modern day protagonist, honestly isn't anywhere as relevant as Ezio, but his story is still important to the overarching plot of this game and of the trilogy. Ezio, or Dottore da Firenze, who lived in Italy during the Renaissance era, is who you will play as for the entirety of the main game, instead when you have to play through the modern day sections, but they aren't exactly relevant. Ezio becomes an assassin after his family is betrayed, creating this complex story of revenge. However, to adhere to the true code of the Brotherhood, he must not let his lust for revenge get in the way of him becoming the most renowned assassin of his era. The game's story is overall fantastic and is built upon so well in its 2 follow-ups as well. Assassin's Creed 2 is very similar to the original game in many ways in its combat, but also improved on its predecessor quite a lot. The parkour's fluidity was increased and the traversal around the beautiful cities of Italy was a lot more fun and fluid than it was in the first game. The combat system for the game had been upgraded quite a lot and allowed for a lot more options, including disarming your opponents. Eagle vision has also been dramatically changed to be used in a third-person view, which allows for a lot more opportunities for stealth and is just better than it was in the original. There are also more methods of hiding, such as diving underwater to break an enemy's line of sight. There's also the blending mechanics, which have become mainstay in the franchise even today. There's also the ability to unlock new methods of assassination, such as ambushing individuals while in a haystack or pulling enemies off a building to their death. There's also a variety of different enemies as well, some of which are more agile or stronger than others. There's also the smoke bombs to get you out of sticky situations, as well as the ability to hire thieves, courtesans, or even mercenaries to cover Ezio's tracks and avoiding contact with enemies. The mechanic of notoriety has also been introduced, which depending on the behavior of Ezio, your current location and mission, Ezio can be easily recognizable to citizens, specifically guards. When it is at its highest level, enemies will come after you, while the lowest level will allow you to traverse the cities within the game safely. Overall, the story is absolutely groundbreaking and the gameplay is innovative and built so much upon the original game's formula. Brotherhood is considered a fantastic sequel and is also again many's favorite Assassin's Creed game, including myself. The game's story follows the cliffhanger ending of the second game, and Brotherhood wastes absolutely zero time continuing the story of Ezio, where the story continues in 1499, where Ezio escapes Rome with his uncle and returns to Monteriggioni, believing that his part in the Brotherhood is finally complete. He is confronted by the Brotherhood, who criticize his decision at the end of the game. The game sends Ezio into Rome for the entirety of the game, and the game's story commences over the span of 7 long years, in which Ezio spends all of his time in Rome to achieve his final parts in the Brotherhood in Italy. That's a spoiler-free summary of the game's main campaign, but the story is incredible, and to me is just as incredible as the second game's story for developing Ezio further and building directly upon the last game. Now to talk about Brotherhood's gameplay. The game retains the same gameplay from its predecessor with many significant new additions. The combat with knives, swords, and maces are now able to be dual wielded, paired with projectile weapons such as throwing knives, and you also get yourself a hidden gun. This allows you to seamlessly utilize the ranged weapons in the middle of combat and adds a lot of diversity to the game's mainly melee combat. In addition, a giant new gameplay mechanic has also been introduced, being a new kill streak feature which allows you to continuously move from enemy to enemy and perform multiple beautifully crafted takedowns and executions using the melee weapons. Utilizing dual wielded weapons allows you to perform awesome dual executions that work in direct conjunction to the kill streak feature. There's also the introduction of heavy weapons, which can be used to perform instant kills, and there's also the addition of the crossbow. In addition to this, staples of the combat in Assassin's Creed were also added in this game, being poison darts as an extension to the poison blade. Double assassinations with a second hidden blade and the climb leap glove are also inside this game. The horse mechanics have been improved dramatically, as in this game you have to utilize your horse a lot more in Rome, and you can now take it through the city's districts and can be used at any time, as well as the introduction of some awesome combat on horseback. There's also so many side activities such as the renovation system, taking down the towers of the Borgia, and you're also able to recruit assassins for the Brotherhood, which is an absolutely fantastic gameplay mechanic. There's also the side missions such as destroying Leonardo's war machines, as well as assassination contracts, making this game's gameplay possibly the best in the entire trilogy. Overall, the story in this game is one of the best in the franchise, and the combat and the gameplay has been improved dramatically from its predecessors and is generally excellent. This game is sometimes underappreciated in the trilogy for not being as groundbreaking as the last two, but I honestly think this game is just as great as the other two, and without it the trilogy wouldn't be as great as it is. For this game's story, it takes you to the capital of the Ottoman Empire as Ezio searches for Altair's vault. The game's story is excellent as serving as the conclusion and ending of Ezio's story as an assassin, but also to further build upon the fantastic Altair and end of his story as well. The game's story is awesome, showcasing a much more intelligent and wise Ezio who searches for the artifacts of Altair's vault, and in sections you also have to play as Altair, and this duality of the game's main campaign is absolutely incredible. The game's story also sees Ezio find love, and I just really enjoyed the conclusion of Ezio's story. Once again, Revelations largely retains the gameplay from its preceding titles and doesn't add much to it. Free running has been largely improved though, with the addition of the hook blade, which allows Ezio to traverse the city a lot faster and more efficiently. To coincide with this new addition, numerous zip lines could be found all over the city's rooftops, which decreases the travel time around the city and just increases the overall fluidity of the game's traversal mechanics. Ezio is also able to pickpocket an enemy mid-combat, as well as using it to be an aid in escaping combat as well. Aside from the hook blade, a multitude of bombs have been introduced alongside an improved version of other smoke bombs in previous entries. Eagle vision has been revamped with added features resulting in the maturation of the technique known as Eagle Sense, which allows Ezio to track his enemies and pick off their individual trails, making tailing enemies more efficient. Overall, the game's story is fantastic and is an awesome conclusion to the story of Ezio, and the gameplay is the same old but is still incredible and refined to its fullest in this entry. So yes, you should absolutely play the Ezio Trilogy in 2021, as all the games in the trilogy are fantastic, and even now the games in the trilogy hold up extremely well and are overall just incredible. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope I was able to convince you to buy or play this fantastic video game trilogy. Let me know what you think about the Ezio Trilogy if you already played it down in the comments below, and let me know whether you bought the games because of this video. Anyway, that's all from me for today's video. Peace.